Well, hello everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Story to Screen podcast, the movie podcast where we review all different kinds of movies, new and old. I'm your host, Chris.
This is Benjamin.
And Joshua Ling.
And joining us tonight is a special guest. You may know him as the Nostalgia Critic and the host of the
Christian. Nostalgia Christian.
Oh, crud. I'm always mixing those two up. Kevin McCreary. Hey, Kevin, how's it going?
Hey, guys.
Yay.
It's going fantastically.
How are you doing?
Oh, well, better now that I'm hanging out with you guys.
Yes.
Better than all your adoring fans a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Yeah, I just finished that live stream, and it was a lot of fun.
Do some of those questions, by any chance, annoy you to some degree?
Probably not. I mean, think about... I always have to think about how there was a time when I was in my room recording things and trying to get my friends to listen to like my CDs that I made. You know, like even my parents would get annoyed that I was
Pay attention to me.
So the fact that anybody like cares to pay attention is pretty awesome, and so I could never get annoyed. Now, that being said, sometimes I'm like, well, that kind of took up some space, and I bet you there's some people out there asking some other questions that I haven't gotten to get to that maybe would have been cooler, but they can just ask next time.
Okay. So people, check out his YouTube channel. I'm sorry. Say goodnight, Kevin, and check out his podcast as well, The Inner Tube, and you host a Avengers and Odyssey podcast as well. Am I right?
Yeah, it's two of them.
Oh,
the Ceiling Fan podcast, which is kind of a fan podcast, and the Scoopcast, which is on the OdysseyScoop.com. Yeah.
Tonight's movie review will be the 1993 mega blockbuster from Steven Spielberg, Jurassic Park, starring Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum. But before we begin our show, we have a bit of a long weekly segments that we have to go through, so let's go into that. You know, I want to extend an apology to my audience. I'm sorry we've been absent for technically about a month, since February 1st, actually. Things have been very busy. On my end, I started college.
Stop. Just stop right there. Stop apologizing. We all know it's Georgia, and it was because of the snow. Come on.
Well, yes, that too.
We're all panicked.
Buy the milk. Buy the bread.
Yes, but really, did your grocery stores run out of that stuff, or none of that? Okay.
No, they stocked.
They panicked just as much in Tennessee, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's so funny because I grew up a lot of my life in South Carolina, but it's the same here. And I mean, it's a little legitimate because like the snow melts and becomes ice, and so it's a little dangerous. But it's also my family's from Michigan, and we always roll our eyes at it.
Okay. But anyway, yeah, I started photography class in February, and I passed through my first phase. Now I got 2 more phases I have to go through. So I've been really enjoying the classes. But, yeah, we didn't review Kingsman, The Secret Serviceman, 50 Shades of Grey. Who wants to review that? And what else was there? Oh, Jupiter Ascending. We didn't want to waste our time or money on those, even though I think they would have boosted our podcast in terms of downloads. We just personally did not want to do them.
I heard Jupiter Ascending was actually fairly decent, so.
Who said that?
Some people who...
Me, I said it, no. I
Well, now it sounds like there's a conversation to be had. Maybe you should review that one.
I don't know. You can pay me. If you pay me.
I haven't seen any of those 3.
Let's give us some of that sweet Patreon money, and we'll think about it.
Kevin, you mean to tell me you didn't see 50 Shades of Grey?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I had it all in my plans to take my girlfriend on Valentine's Day to see it opening night, but then, yeah.
Yeah, good thing that fell through.
Yes, there you go.
It was the
Very
ice.
romantic thing to do.
Yeah. We're not, I know we cover on this particular part of the show, we cover some movie news. I know that last month Spider-Man is joining the MCU. That's great. That's fantastic. Garfield's out. I don't care. Looks like Logan Lerman might be actually playing Spider-Man, but, again, I don't care. Aquaman was revealed, so he looked cool. That's it. But another thing, too, the reason why I was also really busy last month was because I'm also organizing a film screening for a movie called Beyond the Mask. It's directed by Chad Burns. He's the director of Pendragon, which came out in 2008, I believe. So I've been very busy trying to get that screening together at a local theater, and it's taken me a couple different tries. We're still trying to get the screening is yet to be confirmed. So I got a lot of people waiting for the confirmation, and I'm sorry about that, people. If for the listeners, if they've been waiting for the ticket. So, Kevin, have you heard anything about Beyond the Mask?
No, I haven't. My apologies.
Okay.
I saw The Mask and Son of the Mask, so
I'm so sorry for you for the second one.
And it has nothing to do with that.
Yes, they have nothing to do with that. So yeah,
It's a Christian film, but it actually looks good.
It's Christian. What synopsis?
What's it about? It is a story about an assassin during the American Revolutionary War who goes through a series of events where he has to redeem himself. And so it's kind of like Zorro in the Revolutionary War, but it's Christian, and it has John Rhys Davies.
Fascinating. That sounds, with that pitch, like it could go either way.
Yeah,
exactly how I feel.
It could be amazing or amazingly bad. But that's
I'm kind of nervous because it's like I'm gonna probably see the film for the first time at the screening, so I have no idea what I'm gonna get myself into.
I can personally say though, the last film these guys they do not skimp on quality. Their story may be a little bit rocky, but quality it's gonna knock your socks off.
I hope so. Is there anything you guys want to bring up? Kevin, you actually, by neglection of appearing on our show, actually decided to go see Chappie last night.
I did. Yes.
You forgot.
Such a
to
jerk.
appear on our show last night.
I couldn't even enjoy the film because I had been such a jerk
so
to you guys.
distraught.
So I hope that makes up for it.
Yes, I was very hurt by what you did, Kevin. Even though this is the first time we're meeting each other, I was very hurt and very, very ashamed by what you did.
Chris, you really got to stop taking everything personally, man.
Look,
come on,
man, come on. Look,
you're so sensitive.
I am super sensitive. It's a good quality to have. Try it for once.
The women love it.
Yeah.
Well, my apologies for not being there, but I did see Chappie. So,
how was that, by the way?
Okay, so it was good. If you like Neil Blomkamp's films, if you know what you're getting into with those films, obviously there's violence and language, English and South African language, and awesomeness also was in it.
No,
so if you don't
I enjoyed
like that,
District 9, so I'm looking forward to seeing it later.
Yeah, I think some of the criticisms are going to be like there's a little bit of some hokiness in the acting. Not a lot. I was actually because it's Diane Ward, the group. They're the music group that are kind of the two of the stars that are in the film. They did pretty well, but there's just a tad bit of like, I can tell that they're singers more than actors. But it was pretty neat, but it certainly if you're expecting what you saw in the preview, then you're not going to get that. And I was actually, my favorite two parts were, one, Chappie was phenomenal. Like, just the look and the actual robot was really cool. It looked really good, and the acting for it was just superb. And then also, I really liked, because it's kind of like there's this family dynamic where Chappie is like the child, and then those two people are like the parents, but they're not good parents, but they're trying to be. And it's really interesting because they take, you see this parallel of what probably was the writer's, like, kind of in his perspective, what his own childhood may have been like, and kind of artistically, with artistic license, kind of, there's a parallel there, of what maybe it was actually like. So that was interesting.
So that little bit right there was was ambiguous, I'm assuming, right? Obviously, from the way that you're kind of describing it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it?
So you'd have to read into it, but there was, like, it was a movie about, at its heart, it's a movie about what it's like to be a child in a broken home.
Okay. And that was what I was kind of getting from the trailers, and the trailers made it seem like a little bit more family-friendly, eat tea kind of like. Does that make any sense? Like,
yeah.
And I heard someone tweeted today that I took my child to see a movie, lots of language, lots of horrible violence, and my wife and kids were with me, and I was ashamed that the studio made this film. How could they make such a film and mismarket it the way that they did? So,
some people are just really stupid. Trailers tell you everything they need to know. People just don't read into the trailer like they should.
Yeah, there's a little letter at the end of it. Most trailers, this one had an R.
Yeah.
And it earned it.
Go figure,
so
right?
They should have put it at the beginning. We're saying, like, rated R, you know what you're getting yourself into. So,
Wasn't T rated R?
PG. I'm just saying that the Chappie
Okay, that
trailer...
didn't have PG-13 then. But anyway.
Yeah, but the Chappie trailer was kind of a little more wholesome, and it made it seem like it could be a PG-13 film, but it was going to be at least a little more safer than his previous movies.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, well, it sounds like it's not doing too well critically. I mean, people have been kind of criticizing it. Some people, what's his name again? Devendra Hardawar from Slash Filmcast, who I really respect in his critical opinion, said it was even better than Elysium. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I don't. Since you saw Elysium, Kevin, do you think it's better than Elysium?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
I enjoyed it better, but it's not an American. It's that storyline that every Marvel movie follows. It doesn't follow that storyline. It does stray from what you're used to, and I think that's probably what a lot of people's like criticism is. I saw a film that like was from someone's heart, and so I really liked it. And it wasn't a political thriller like Elysium, and so I felt like it was a little more personal, and I thought that was kind of cool. Even though I didn't grow up on the streets of South Africa, so I don't know if the realism is extremely real, but it felt like it.
The message touched you, so that was what he was aiming for. Okay,
yeah.
Okay. So anyway, folks, let's go ahead and jump into our review of Jurassic Park.
There it is. Welcome to Jurassic Park. We've made living biological attractions so astounding that they'll capture the imagination of the entire planet.
The most phenomenal discovery of our time
How'd you do this?
becomes the greatest adventure of all time.
Can I touch it?
Sure.
Universal Pictures presents
You feel that?
Hold on to your butts.
a Steven Spielberg film.
What you just heard was the original trailer for Jurassic Park. It stars Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum, and directed by Steven Spielberg. Kevin, this year will be the return of Jurassic World. So, how excited are you for the new movie?
Well, I'm excited about the idea of the film. The trailers aren't great, but I have a feeling that maybe all their special effects aren't completely rendered yet. So I'm kind of hoping that, because they almost look exactly like they did in 1993. And then also there's moments where you expect that Chris Pratt is going to say like a really good line, and instead he doesn't, but the music still leads you on. Like he's like, well, it all just depends on what they cooked up in their lab that they got over there. It's like, what?
Yeah.
This line is too long. What are you doing? And so I think because that line was long, the line to see the film won't be.
You think they may cut it? They may cut it. They may even call the scene the deleted scene, whatever, with that exact same line. Long line scene, Chris Pratt on the DVD. There you go.
Yeah. I actually think a lot of people will go see this new film.
Sure.
But I couldn't pass up the opportunity to make that analogy.
Yeah. My biggest thing is, what are you going to do differently than what's been done before? Especially with this. This one is the top of the cake. This is the one that set everything up.
It's the ceiling fan.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Not even the sequels.
It's Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh no. Oh no.
No, that belongs to 3 or 2. Kevin, what is your relationship with the original 1993 film, Jurassic Park?
Oh, well, I know this is exactly not what you were asking, but I actually, the little boy in the beginning of the film, one of the kids, I can't remember.
It was you!
It wasn't the little fat kid, the one who was insulting Dr. Grant, and he kind of did that demonstration.
Yes. That is Whit Hertford, and he is on Adventures in Odyssey now.
Oh, okay.
Plays Jay Smouse. And also, he was on McGee and Me. He was in several episodes. Did you see did you watch McGee and Me, any of you guys?
I watched a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Did you see Skate Expectations?
Yes.
So the little boy who's being picked on, that he does the skate challenge for, is that same kid.
Yeah, Scared Trivia. It's awesome.
And I've interviewed him before. So I have a relationship with the first Jurassic Park.
Okay.
So there's 1 degree of separation right there.
What did you talk about specifically?
When I interviewed him?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's because he was on Adventures in Odyssey. So I was interviewing him for one of my hundreds of Adventures in Odyssey podcasts. And we also talked a little bit about Jurassic Park, and he got to talk about people that he met when he was on set and stuff like that. I guess it was a lot of fun.
Okay. So I'm assuming that was his only day of filming. Did he do any other scenes that were deleted?
No. It was just that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just go ahead and just kind of tell us your opinion, or kind of express your opinions about the first film,
the film itself.
Yeah, the film itself.
I really like it. I liked it much more. I didn't see it the year it came out. I was 7. So my parents weren't taking me to see Jurassic Park. I remember hearing somebody say even the director said he wouldn't take his kids to see it or something. And I don't know if that was even said. It may have been, but more probably to hype up the film. This is the scariest movie ever made. I was just thinking that Alfred Hitchcock said that about The Birds. He was like, this is the scariest film I've ever made, to promote it. Anyway, I really, looking back at it, the CG is phenomenal. CG today doesn't even look often as good as it did there. And I think the reason is because they had so much to prove. Because there was a lot of doubt as to how good, it hadn't been done like that before. And they used a lot of modeling to get it that way. However, looking back at it, it also is more boring at times than I thought, that I remember it being. And maybe that's because we've had so much high energy films come out in recent years. it's not as action packed. But that scene with the T-Rex and the car, I think still holds up. I mean, that's just so cool.
Let's see. I saw this film on VHS. I was probably 8 at the time. My dad showed it to my sister and I, and boy, it gave her nightmares. She couldn't sleep for the longest time. I loved it. Yeah, it is honestly one of the most iconic films of the 90s, no doubt about it. And to comment on the slower pace, I would agree with that, but I think that's typical Spielberg. He's got this classic style where he likes to take in the dialogue. He's not constantly moving from action to action like so many directors are now, trying to keep you engaged. He likes to fill it with good content. But yeah, I don't have too much to say. I want to comment. I did see this when it was re-released in 3D, I think 2 years ago.
Oh, really? Cool.
When just out of curiosity to see how it would look with the conversion techniques and stuff. And I do have to say, when you're filming something for 3D, you really have to think about the cinematography to make it look good. The cinematography for this was not designed for 3D, so you had stuff popping out your screen, popping out at you. It's like, okay, it just doesn't feel balanced. It just feels wrong, and it was just an interesting takeaway.
Okay. Joshua, what about you?
I am probably the most down on this movie compared to most people. I know it's a very unpopular opinion. I don't think that it's just because of slower pace. I think you all definitely hit on something with that. But I think my biggest issue with the film is simply it entirely banks on its big moments. I think the slow moments, you can do great slow moments. I think there were a couple good slow moments in this movie, some of the less high energy kind of things, but overall, most of the dialogue and things I found to be just boring, to me anyway. I admit that some of that's personal bias. The other thing is, and this is one of the biggest things I have to admit, I have a personal vendetta against disaster movies of any kind, and this is very close to a natural disaster.
All right, here's some homework for you. Go see Sharknado.
No, I've actually seen Sharknado, and I enjoy it because of how bad it is.
But is Sharknado really, does that need to be the standard, I mean,
yes, it does.
We've come to a bad place if we're setting that as...
Other examples, Dante's Peak was another one from the 90s that was a pretty big one. So you say that, but there's something in literature for me, both movies, everything, where the idea of running away from nature and just trying to survive, especially survival stories, I'm like, okay, you really have to give me something that they have to live for.
So what you're saying is you're not a Walking Dead fan?
Yeah, I'm not. It's one of those things. I want the characters to have something that they're striving for, something that they want to achieve.
They're trying to stay alive. That's more than you can get, man.
I understand that, but why should I care if they live or die? It's one of those things. And maybe that makes me a terrible person, whatever. But
yeah, I think that's the definition of a terrible person. Not caring if people live or die.
Well, let's put Joshua in a cage with a T-Rex and see how he does.
Yeah, who cares?
You stop moving. He has infrared vision, or not infrared. There's something else. He can't see you. He just stands still.
Yeah.
Oh man, but for me, you all mentioned that we all saw this movie at a very young age. I saw this movie very, very young. I think this is probably one of those first movies that I remember, watching. And I was like 5, 6 years old, something like that, and I saw it like countless times on television. Whenever we went to a VHS store, we would rent it. And it's shocking, rewatching it nowadays. It's like, man, there's all this stuff. I mean, there's some profanity. There's some mild innuendos.
It's Spielberg. What you gonna do?
Well, but at the same time, as a film in itself, it's one of those very rare blockbusters that, or I should say, the first blockbuster that set up the template of what a modern blockbuster needs to be. I know you had the successes of Star Wars and Jaws, but with Jurassic Park, it was one of those very rare examples of a very heart. It had a lot of humanity and heart in it that people could actually almost were intrigued by. I mean, yeah, you had the spectacle. The dinosaurs were the spectacle, but rewatching it again, the human elements that were in this movie, such as Sam Neill's character, Dr. Grant, bonding with the children during their survival in Jurassic Park. It's very relatable in that way. I can't describe it any other way, but yeah, in my personal opinion, I think it really set up what a modern blockbuster needs to be. More character dialogue that's not boring, but that can be very engaging, and you can relate to the characters. And then you have the spectacle, the CGI spectacle and all that stuff. And I can't think of with maybe the exception of Lord of the Rings, the very first one, and maybe even the other two, but mainly that first one, I can't think of another blockbuster of today that has matched to what Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park, achieved. I don't know if any of you guys agree with that statement.
Did you see Independence Day? I mean,
do not get me started on Independence Day.
That one's good. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I feel like from what you were saying about like natural disaster films, like the only thing for you that could be worse than like just nature attacking is fake nature, like aliens coming.
This is absolutely
people.
True. Independence Day is one of my least favorite.
It's
films
not
ever.
even like plausible, so it's just
Exactly. I don't care. The one thing I will say, I know Independence Day off topic, but I will say the one thing that I will watch Independence Day for is Bill Pullman, I believe, speech.
Yeah.
My goodness, his speech is hilarious. It's one of the greatest.
Today is our Independence Day.
When he says, "We will not go quietly into the night," I almost cry every single
We
time.
will not go quietly into the night. I loved that. When I was a kid, that speech, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And looking back at it, I'm like, what? That's the cheesiest thing that's ever been on TV. It's like this beautiful mixture of like big-headed American, patriotism, like for no reason, made up aliens and like this, I don't know. It's just funny. Just as an adult looking back, I'm like, that's a cheesy speech, very cheesy speech. But we're not talking about that movie,
No.
even though it is.
Well,
I thought it was a sequel because it's got the same character in it.
Jeff Goldblum.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's the same guy, right?
In all the movies.
He's always warning people about disasters that are coming. He's the only one who's
Checkmate.
letting them know that this is a bad idea.
So guys,
Only dude with some common sense.
do you believe in the theory of chaos?
No.
Have you tested it before? Have you grabbed the
Chaos theory.
chaos theory? Have you grabbed a little cup of water and done the little thing with the hand and all that stuff? Have any of you guys done that?
After watching that movie, who hasn't?
Benjamin,
believe
you're
in
married.
chaos theory,
Benjamin,
but I
you're
think-
married. Have you done that with Holly?
What?
Is that
What?
a thing that only married people do?
I'm confused.
Did you do
That's
that?
the thing. Oh, now I know.
I don't believe in chaos theory, but I believe in checkmate.
There you go. Do you guys dig up dinosaurs? Any of you guys do that?
Who doesn't? What?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
Barney's in my backyard right now.
I was gonna make a joke. I was gonna say, like, when I watched, I misunderstood which T-Rex I was supposed to watch, and I watched Barney. But you beat me to it.
I did indeed.
Yeah.
Wait, they need to do a wrestling match. The T-Rex from Jurassic Park against
Barney. And have Barney
See,
win.
now that would engage me.
But there's nothing to strive for there. There's nothing to latch on there, you know? It's just
I'm striving for Barney being obliterated.
Yeah, agreed.
to be swallowed up alive, you know? Just,
No, not alive. Definitely in a million pieces.
Also, the movie needs another song besides just the main theme, which is admittedly beautiful. So Barney could add in something like "Circle to the right, the old brass wagon." Circle to the right. Anyway.
Now, did any of you guys read the book that this movie's based off of?
That's one of the questions that you don't even have to ask me.
Okay. Have you?
Because he doesn't read books.
Because I don't know how to read. So.
But yet he wants to read my rhyming poetry weirdness because it's not a book.
Do you use Kindle at all?
Yeah, I mean sometimes, but I can just have my computer read your poetry to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's lazy,
yes.
man. You just need You just need to read.
No.
It's not lazy. I listen to the books all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so
yeah, Chris, to get back on topic, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. Now you mentioned some boring parts of this movie. What specifically do you find boring, Kevin? Like, what were some?
I just think the pacing's a little slow. I don't know why. I mean, the funny parts I think are funny, especially Jeff Goldblum, and like even his relationship with the kids and stuff.
Wayne Knight, who is hilarious in everything he ever does.
Also, seeing the CinemaSins, everything wrong with it, really made me realize, oh, yeah, that's true. That show ruins things for me, but it definitely, like, that whole, like, so this guy plans on standing there every day, so every time a tour comes through, he can respond to himself in the video. That's pretty funny.
And to be there in the room when the video is being played and he has to...
So he can send it back to himself? He can never hire someone else to play that role, to make that dumb joke?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the science is a little hokey.
What specifically? Guys, I was going to bring that
DNA.
The evolution, because we're Christians.
Yeah, that's what really upset me, is that it's pro-evolution.
So much.
Yeah.
But actually,
I was like, this isn't Christian, no! I can't enjoy science fiction!
The DNA, the frog DNA, that's actually really interesting, because there is a breed of frogs in Africa that actually do change their genders. Actually, this is actually a fact. I don't know what they're specifically called. They're just categorized as common reed frogs. So
they're creepy frogs.
But
Yeah. Now, funny that amphibian DNA happened to fit with the DNA of birds.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Apparently,
to all work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that doesn't work at all.
Now, eventually, you do plan to have dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour, right? Hello? Oh, hello? Yes?
I really hate that man.
See, the Tyrannosaur doesn't obey any set patterns or park schedules. It's the essence of chaos.
I'm still not clear on chaos.
It simply deals with predictability in complex systems. The shorthand is the butterfly effect. A butterfly can flap its wings in Peking, and in Central Park you get rain instead of sunshine.
Well, let's talk about the dinosaurs real quickly, because I mean, this was one of Stan Winston at his finest. I mean, Stan Winston is, just a creation genius. I mean, he had done the Terminator movies, the Jurassic Park. I mean, the man was super, super talented. And to bring these creatures to life, I mean, it's just awe-inspiring. I mean, you can't... Every time I watch these movies, I'm always just floored by what he managed to achieve, and him and his company. And I mean, I can't even. I mean, yeah, you can tell it's, you know, you can tell it's definitely a Matronic because just the way that it's moving and all that stuff. But it's so believable, and this movie set up a template that I think, you know, that believability factor in movies that you know, other filmmakers have kind of, you know, have done, you know, like example Peter Jackson in Lord of the Rings. But I think not a lot of the modern day filmmakers, I don't think, have really captured that.
Well, yeah, I mean, what they did was quite brilliant. They stopped and they thought about, okay, should this be CG or should this be live action?
Blended the two,
and
yeah.
back and forth, and you know, nail that down. And we've got directors these days who like majorly prefer one or the other just because, you know, to some good extent, or you know, Christopher Nolan, he's all practical is the only way to go. And while it looks stunning, he misses out on some stuff that could be helped along with CG. You know, the latest Hobbit films are an example of the other direction.
Yeah, made by the same man. But go ahead.
So, come on, everything's better with Andy Serkis.
But that's where, and like you were saying, Kevin, or Chris, I can't remember who now, but that they had something to prove when they put those together. And that's absolutely it. They put so much thought. It wasn't just turning out another CGI flick.
Yeah.
It was, we want to make this look really good and believable, and we just want to convince everyone that there is no difference, that these fit in perfectly.
It was a brilliant ad campaign where they didn't even show the dinosaurs in the trailer before it came out, and then you didn't know. I mean, could you imagine like them not showing the best action scenes? Like even in the new trailer, they show a bunch of the CG and a bunch of the dinosaurs and stuff. They didn't do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just convinced no one knows how to make a decent trailer anymore.
Yeah, yeah, probably. You know,
except
he
the one
didn't
thing that
show
they
all
all
his
still
cars.
love. The one thing they all still love. Wow! I'm so sick of that.
The Inception noise.
The wow.
Wow. And that,
yeah,
whatever that is.
It's the A team at the, you know.
It's exactly what it is. You're right.
Aha. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Now freeze your hand. Freeze your hand. Don't move. I'm going to do the same thing. Start with the same place again.
Right.
Which way is it going to roll off?
Let's say back. Same way.
Same way. Same back. It changed. Why? Because tiny variations, the orientation of the hairs on your hands.
Hey, Ellen, look at this.
The amount of blood descending your vessels, imperfections in the skin.
Imperfections in the skin?
Microscopic. And never repeat and vastly affect the outcome. That's one.
Unpredictability.
All right. There. Look at this. See? I'm right again. Nobody could have predicted that Dr. Grant would suddenly jump out of a moving vehicle.
Alan?
There's another example. See, here I am now by myself, talking to myself. That's chaos theory.
Now, some of the characters, I really do like the characters. I mean, in this movie, I mean, I actually like the Hammond. No, what is it? Yeah,
Hammond.
Hammond is portrayed wonderfully by the late Richard Attenborough, who is a phenomenal actor and director as well. I mean, he directed Gandhi, which that's a long movie if you can get through it. But
I just remembered something.
Go ahead.
I realize I just totally interrupted you, but I would say most of the parts with the Stegosaurus are boring. And I think the reason is because there was the expectation that people were going to be in awe of this, you know, this thing that they'd never seen before. And now, since we have seen it already, it kind of doesn't hold its own. So when they're first seeing the Stegosaurus and they're walking in a herd, or like when they're sitting in the tree, like kind of the whole tree scene. And then like anytime they always have where like people are falling from really high places, and like that's okay, but like also where he gets electrocuted on the fence, like, and the kid's just fine. That always like takes me out of the film a little bit. Like when people should die.
It feels like filler.
That to answer your question, that's the answer.
Okay, but yeah, yeah, there are some moments like that in the movie that do cause me to kind of raise an eyebrow. That's like, what? The little boy being electrocuted like that, he should have died. I mean, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He should have. They should all die. Anyway,
no,
and you
not
wouldn't care at all.
No, he was a cute little boy. He was good. You know, he doesn't have to die. But
we're all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God.
That's the determining factor. If you're good, you don't die.
And you're cute.
Yes, your looks are a key factor in that as well.
If Disney's taught me anything.
Yeah.
But no, one of the characters I want to talk about was Hammond, because what I like about his character is that they kind of play him as he's a man who, you know, obviously he has recreated this entire species, but they kind of play him up as if he has the mentality of God. You know, this kind of like godlike mentality of like, look of what I've created, you know, and kind of in a way acting like what I have done is good. You know, this recreating this long extinct species that, for the good of humanity, which was wiped out during the flood, was probably the best thing that God ever did, because we would not have been able to cooperate with them. But anyway, with
there's other stories on that, but yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, David refers to in the Psalms refers to some dinosaur-like animals.
Mm-hmm. So does Job.
Yeah, that would have been after the flood.
But no, did any of you find that trait interesting with the Hammond character, because he is kind of playing this mentality of God, and not to mention he's both an old man who's dressed in white throughout this whole movie. He actually does not appear in any other type of color in this movie. I thought the white clothing was kind of a metaphor, kind of a metaphorical kind of God, you know, God because when we think of God, we think of brightness and all that stuff, white.
Because of Hollywood.
But anyway, did any of you guys find that?
I would say it's interesting that they created this character that has this God complex, but doesn't have an arrogance in like adamantness, if that makes sense. Like, he is a gentle seeming person who has this childlike awe of this world. He's excited about it and really wants to show it off, but yet he's so dangerous because of that. So I thought that was an interesting contrast in his character, that that he has that almost innocent presentation, even in that joke where he jokes with himself on the screen, but yet has created a very dangerous world.
Yeah, and the fact that he's failing to see it is even more disturbing. That's interesting, and you know, and I think there's that moment when he's when they're feeding the raptors, and then there's that moment when he's looking at Grant while while they're eating the animal inside the cage, and he's giving him this look of just like, look of what I've created. There is, I think there is an arrogance to that scene right there in that particular moment, because it's like he's giving this smile of like, oh, look what I've done. You know, you probably have never seen. This is only something that you've only thought in your own memory. You know, read in little children's books. You know, this is the real deal, and I'm the one who created it.
I will say this though, guys, like, if you were able to bring back dinosaurs through science, wouldn't you at least be excited?
Yeah. I mean,
let's talk about that. Let's talk about the ethical, because I think honestly, rewatching this movie again the other night, the movie is kind of presenting recreation of dinosaurs a major ethical dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
So,
No,
I don't think it is at all. Because
that is kind of the basis of the film. You know, if
No,
you
yeah,
have
that-
if
yeah,
you
it's
have
the basis of the film.
ability-
If you have an evolutionary worldview,
Well,
Right.
no, I mean, I think it's any sort of worldview. I mean, it's presenting that complex. Like, is it not ethical because of the cloning aspect, but the danger of it? If creating a monster is ethically right, creating this thing that could be extremely dangerous. It's almost like the nuclear bomb complex, you know, that we worked and we created this and took so many lives. You know, was this, you know, did we create the end of the world sort of mentality?
But the other thing is, nuclear bomb is not something that comes natural. Neither was the One Ring. This is a situation where these things existed. They were part of a natural order of things. And if you go by natural selection viewpoint, yeah, it's unethical to bring them back in because we need to get rid of them. They died off, you know. And then if you do it from a Christian perspective, it's, well, all of God's creatures are, you know, special. Everything was created good, so why not bring them back? It's kind of, at least that's the way I see it.
But I think even in that situation, I'm sorry for interrupting you, Kevin, but I think even in that situation, it's even for a Christian. Let's say like this was kind of being approached from the Christian perspective. I think I would be very conscientious about bringing these creatures back to life, because I mean, quite honestly, if I was to recreate these creatures, I would probably bring back the herbivores. You know, the some of the.
Well, yeah, that's where you start.
Yeah, but you're still going by by classifications and definitions that are completely fabricated, that there's no proof behind.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if it was possible, because honestly, the cloning process throughout history has yielded negative results because it's not.
I have a positive. I have a positive.
Go ahead.
They use goats that they've spliced with spider DNA to create spider silk that you can use as high tension threads. The reason they put it in goats, and Kevin's like, what?
Spider goats?
Yes. And so you look it up. They actually create these strands that are like as strong as steel, but like 10 times lighter. But the thing is, because spiders are territorial, they could never just throw them in like you do with silkworms and create, you know, silk, because they'd kill each other off. And so what they did is they made goats that are 1/77th spider, and they have like these udders that spit out spiders. So
that's the coolest thing I've ever heard. Spider goats.
And
oh my gosh. I want that to be like a Marvel film where he like from his udders.
But yes, I would say that's a positive, because that's giving us a material that we would have never otherwise been able to use. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned something when I mentioned the nuclear bomb, and the thing is, like, it is natural. Like, a nuclear explosion, even though we're like genetically modifying it, it's still in the physical world. So it is something that is on Earth and natural that then we adjusted to make something happen, but it's still something that's possible in the physical world. So in that sense, it is natural.
But also there's intent. You gotta question intent, because nuclear bomb is definitely for one of two things: energy, like nuclear power plants, or destruction. And so if we're creating dinosaur armies, yeah, I don't want dinosaurs. But if we're creating dinosaurs to study genetics, to study creatures, to study long gone species of life, then yeah, I would say go right ahead.
Yeah. Well, all right then, I will.
Okay. Well, that was a good debate, ethical debate right there. So that was something. No, that was something I really wanted to bring up. And I think the sad part about the character is that he kind of sees that he realizes what he has done not until the very end, and the woman has to what's her name, Laura Dern's character, has to remind him of that. You know, you're playing with something that honestly wasn't meant to be played with ever again. You couldn't recreate something like this and expect to have everything under control. These are wild, dangerous animals, and you can't tame them. Well, maybe you could tame them. We'll have to see what Chris Pratt does with in the motorcycles.
Well, I mean, I think the movie sums up itself with Jeff Goldblum's character. You thought so long about whether or not you could, you didn't stop to think whether or not you should.
Yes,
and that's the answer to it. Is just stop and think about it first.
That dinner scene summarizes everything that goes on in that movie. That's the one scene that summarizes everything that happens, everything that follows afterward in the movie. And I think that's the movie's main message right there. Should we or should we not? Or we should question yourself.
Yeah. I think that's the movie's main question, more than message.
Okay,
because
yeah.
I think the movie definitely presents kind of that question, especially through Jeff Goldblum's character, where you have this ethical, like at a time in the world when we were hearing in the news about cloning a lot, and the was it Lucy, the sheep that was cloned and stuff, and there was that ethical debate as to whether or not, like, what if we cloned humans, and what would be the, especially for people in religious sects who were like, well, would that be a human or a soul or whatever, like that, those sorts of questions were being asked, and this movie kind of presented in a marketable way some of those questions, like where is the ethics in this?
Yeah, it's something that Star Trek has been asking for years and years and years.
Well, science fiction in general has.
Yeah.
You'll see some of that in my work, Kevin.
All right.
Gee, the lack of humility before nature that's being displayed here staggers me.
Well, thank you, Dr. Malcolm, but I think things are a little bit different than you and I had feared.
Yeah, I know. They're a lot worse.
Now, wait a second. Now, we haven't even seen the
No,
part where
Donald, let him talk. There's no reason. No, I want to hear every viewpoint. I really do.
Yeah, don't you see the danger, John, inherent in what you're doing here? Genetic power is the most awesome force the planet's ever seen, but you wield it like a kid that's found his dad's gun.
It's hardly appropriate to start hurling generalizations.
If I may. I'll tell you the problem with the scientific power that you're using here. It didn't require any discipline to attain it. You read what others had done, and you took the next step. You didn't earn the knowledge for yourselves, so you don't take any responsibility for it. You stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as you could, and before you even knew what you had, you patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You want to sell it. Well,
I don't think you're giving us our due credit. Our scientists have done things which nobody's ever done before.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
The world has just changed so radically, and we're all running to catch up. I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but look. Dinosaurs and man, two species separated by 65 million years of evolution, have just been suddenly thrown back into the mix together. How can we possibly have the slightest idea of what to expect?
Well, everybody, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. We're kind of getting close to the hour mark. We could go longer with Kevin, but, it's Saturday night. We have church tomorrow, so it's going to be...
And daylight savings.
Oh, yes. Really?
Daylight savings tomorrow. No!
And hopefully we can get into the other sequels before the new one comes out, which, Kevin, we will be happy to have you back on for Lost World and Jurassic Park 3.
Whoa.
So, and maybe we'll do Jurassic World with you if you'd like. New movie.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Let me know.
So audiences, please check us out on Facebook, look us on iTunes. Also follow us on Twitter. Kevin, thank you very much for coming onto our show tonight.
Well, thank you for having me.
Sure. Where can people find more of your work?
YouTube.com/SayGoodnightKevin is my YouTube channel. It's my favorite thing to do, probably. Or on Twitter, I guess, @GoodnightKev.
Most of my stuff's online at indyvfx.com. That's INDY VFX.com.
can find my writing, all my weird rhymed story things that I do at rhymeandspace.com.
Okay, and you can find me on Facebook. You can also find me on Staff Me Up, which is a production website, and you can find employ me for some production assistant work as well. And you can find me on Facebook and on Twitter, and on just find me on iTunes, because that's where I do story to screen and all that jazz. Oh yes, and I also have an announcement that Cliff Broadway from the Wondering.net, who joined us for our 1978 Lord of the Rings review, will be joining Benjamin and myself for our Fellowship of the Ring commentary, which will begin in middle of March, sometime then. We're still working out details, but yes, he will be joining us very soon for that. And then next week we'll be reviewing Cinderella, which will be making a milestone, which I will not announce yet. So I will not say who will be joining us, but it's a certain milestone. Joshua, you know what I'm talking about, so...
I think I do.
Yes. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for tonight, so thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us, and we'll catch you next week with our review of Cinderella. Take care, everybody. Yes. It's a, well, I'll go ahead and say it. It's a lady who'll be joining us for Story to Screen.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
For the very first time. So that's quite exciting to have a lady on my podcast.
A real girl.
A real...
Wow.
You are a real girl.
You guys sound so single right now.
Guys, there'll be a real girl here. Can you believe it?
Can you believe it?
We'll take down the No Girls Allowed sign in our clubhouse.
It's funny, guys. I'm watching you on Skype. I have the little like screen right there, and whenever I'm watching Ben, and then whenever you speak, Kevin or Joshua, he always turns his head to the right. Whenever you guys speak, it's like, oh, he's looking right next to you. It looks funny.
We're like on the Brady Bunch here.
We need how many more? 6. What is it? 5 more, I think. I don't remember. Anyway,
we'll work on it.
Yeah, we'll work on it. I don't remember. Yeah.
And there's questions of whether Job or not was pre or post flood. That's another story too.
And there's also a question as to whether Middle Earth is the world before the flood.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hobbit.
So are you saying that hobbits and elves and men and dwarves and Sauron all existed
before the flood? Yeah.
Totally.
And unicorns too.
So you're saying unicorns? Okay. So Narnia is next door, I'm assuming, right? To Middle Earth?
No, Narnia is on Mars. Narnia is on Mars.
Yeah. What are you talking about? That's crazy. Okay? That's an alternate dimension.
I don't know. You just mentioned that Middle Earth possibly existed, so anyway, our people are under the...
It must be something that single people do.
Yeah.
Are you single, Mars Kevin? From the Barsoom
I have a girlfriend
series is actually on Pluto.
I'm sorry for you. Anyway,